really what is going wrong in
This world that we living in, people keep on giving in, making wrong decisions, only visions of them dividends, wealthy together, crime our brother. A war's going on, but the reason's undercover. The truth is kept secret, swept under the rug. If you never know truth, then you never know love. Greetings, this is KS. Welcome back. I want to talk to you today about a topic that is very, very, very important to me. And the ramifications go pretty far, as I'm sure you'll find out. I want to talk about the third chapter of Exodus. It's the part where Moses meets Yahweh for the very first time. I want to say this first about Moses. We know the story that Moses was raised in the house of Egypt. And as such, he was an Egyptian priest. By all the accounts that I've read, he was an Egyptian priest. And as such, he would have known a system of rules that we call the 42 negative confessions, or the 42 confessions of Ma'at. They're called negative confessions because they express in a negative fashion the things that you have not done today. And they read like, I have not stolen, I have not robbed, and it's 42. And Moses, surely as a priest, he would have known these confessions, because priests had to recite them daily, almost like a rosary. And I only bring that up because there was a point where Moses had killed a soldier. He had come across a dispute between an Egyptian and a Hebrew, and he took the side of the Hebrew and he killed the Egyptian soldier and buried him in the sand. He fled, and this is where we meet him out in the desert, tending the flock and the sheep of his father-in-law, the Midianite, and this is where we meet him. And so one day he's out, and I only bring that up. Let me not get ahead of myself. I only bring that up because we were taught that when Moses went to the mountain with the Israelites, that he went up to the mountain and he got the law that says thou shalt not kill. But Moses was fleeing for murder. Murder was already illegal and a law, when he fled Egypt. He was being sought by the authorities for murder, because that was one of the negative confessions. I have not killed anyone. And so I just want to bring that up. And it's there. I just want that on your head. But anyway, we meet Moses tending the flock of his father-in-law's sheep. And he sees a bush on fire. And quite understandably, he goes to the bush because that's a sight to see. When he gets near, he hears a voice that's telling him to remove his sandals because the ground that he's standing on is holy. And the voice says, well, I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And I'm sending you. I've heard the cries of my children in Israel, the people. And I'm going to send you to Pharaoh, and you're going to bring my people out of Egypt. And the first question Moses asked, well, who am I that Pharaoh is going to listen to me? And Yahweh, or God, the voice assures him that, hey, I'm going to be with you, and as a sign, when you bring them out, you're going to worship me here on this mountain. So Moses says, okay, fine. But when I go to Egypt, and I tell the people, hey, the God of your fathers sent me to you, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. The people are going to say, okay, well, you're going to have to be a little bit more specific than that. We got about 90 gods, and so they're going to want to know what your name is. That's why he asked the voice. He says, well, when I go and tell them that, they're going to say, well, what's his name? We got to be more specific, because we got about 90 of them entities running around here, now that we're worshiping. And so that's when the voice tells him that, well, you tell him Yahweh. I am what I am, and then he comes back and he tells them Yahweh. Okay, fine. So, that sets them on the road there. But I want to point out, and we want to look at some of the attributes of this Yahweh, this entity. We want to look at some of the attributes. And we read in 2 Samuel, starting off, in the 22nd chapter, verses 7 through 11. And it reads, "In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God. And he did hear my voice out of his temple. And my cry did enter into his ears." Verse 8. "Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven moved and shook, because he was wroth." He was angry. Verse 9. "There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and a fire out of his mouth devoured the coals and kindled it." So there was smoke out of his nostrils and fire out of his mouth. Verse 10. "He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet, and he rode upon a cherub and did fly." And in Psalm 61, chapter 61, verse 4, and it says, "I will abide in thy tabernacle forever. I will trust in the cover of thy wings." Okay, now let's hold on a minute here. When we go to talking about Yahweh and we try to figure out, because Moses obviously didn't know who that was, neither did he feel the children of Israel. And Moses was a priest. So he would have known of the various deities roaming around here. And he appeared to not even never heard of that. But this entity, we see he breathes smoke and fire, he flies, and here he has wings. Let's go on. Psalms chapter 91, verse 4. "He shall cover the earth with his feathers." I'm sorry. Take that back. Psalms 91, chapter 4 says, "He shall cover thee," not the earth. "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler." Okay, now wait a minute. Now he's got feathers. And this is another reference to wings. "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust." Okay. Leviticus 9, chapter 9, verse 24. We go on. "And there came a fire out from before the Lord, and consumed upon the altar the burnt offerings and the fat, which when all the people saw, they shouted and fell on their faces." I would have too, I'm sure. And finally, Leviticus chapter 10, verse 2. "And there went out fire from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord." And I'm glad that's included, because I'm sure I'll have people on here and they will say, "Oh, this fire was spiritual fire, or it was metaphysical fire." Well, spiritual and metaphysical fire don't kill people. It says, and I repeat, in Leviticus chapter 10, verse 2, "And there went out fire from the Lord and devoured them, and they died there before the Lord." Wow. Okay, let's go on. So when God or Yahweh or this entity, whatever you want to refer to it, when he establishes his reign over the people, how was his reign characterized? What were the main traits of his reign? And we'll see it was war and blood. Here in 31st chapter of Numbers, he's going to initiate a war with the Midianites. It says, and this is the last war that Moses participated in, because as I said earlier, Moses' father-in-law was Midian, and his wife was a Midianite. Okay? And they worship several deities. And it says here in chapter 31, verse 17, now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known a man by lying with him. Verse 18, but all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. Wow. Wow. So he's instructing the people to kill every child, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known a man by lying with him. But all the women children, the maids, the virgins, that have not known a man by lying with them, keep alive for yourselves. Wow. And what else? What else you want us not to destroy? Verse 22, skipping ahead. Only the gold, silver, the brass, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that may abide the fire, ye shall make it go through the fire, and then it shall be clean. So anything that won't burn, all the precious metals you keep, the virgins you keep, you know, this is horrendous. This is horrendous. And to make this worse, they split this up. Yahweh and the people split this up. They sure did, because in verse 37, it outlines the tribute that the Lord got. Okay? In verse 37, and the Lord's tribute, the Lord ended up getting 675 sheep, 72 bulls, I'm not making this up, 61 donkeys, 32 virgins, and 16,750 shekels of gold. That was the Lord's take. That's not a bad day. That is not a bad day indeed. And we go on. Now he's got his eyes set on Moab. In Numbers 25, verses 2 through 4. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. Now, the people here is the Israelites. And this is important to note. The Moabites, they had gods. As I illustrated earlier, there were more than this Yahweh. But the thing of it is, these were not gods. They were just powerful entities that came down amongst the people. They were not gods. They're not the creator God. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bow down to their gods. And Israel joined themselves unto Baal Peor. Okay, we got Baal Peor, and now we have Yahweh. So we got the names of two of them. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. And the Lord said unto Moses, now the Lord is giving Moses a direct order here. Take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. So take off all their heads. Cut their heads off. That's it, just like that.